those, of course, who are for it, those who are against it. But when I listened to him and looked at this man who has been through all kinds of adversities in his own life, came out on top. I don't know which worries people more. The fact that here's an African-American president sitting in the White House who is competent. I mean, that really, you know, that really ticks some people off for you to be competent, because then they don't have any way to pick at you, but they do it anyway. But at any rate, because he stood and because he let the American people know where he's at, and I think that that was probably, at least in my lifetime, the greatest statement that's ever left the White House doors, you know? I mean, it just has not happened, and we've had a lot of really, really serious things happen in this country since we became a country. But for no other reason, this man will go down in history. Just wanted to get your take on that, you and Raymond too.
Well, I concur with you, Ms. Porter. President Obama has demonstrated leadership and a willingness to communicate with the entire world through his office. I'm so proud to be a part of the American fabric with him as our national leader.
All right.
One of the things I think that's unique about, I'm going to say President Obama, I've been calling him Barack like I know him, and I know I only met him the one time through KBBG, but we have so many leaders who are duplicitous in their messages. You know, they will say one thing and do another. And I think what's shocking people is that he's willing to take a stand on his beliefs. If he believes in equal rights, he believes in equal rights. If he believes in humanity, he believes in humanity. And if, in fact, he is a Christian or a Muslim, then he's going to stand tall on the side of right and right as might. And so he shocked people. So I'm pleased that his actions and words are in line with his beliefs, because so often we say we believe something, but we don't act on those beliefs. That's what we see happening with our politicians, and that's what Barack Obama is willing to actually confront and say, this is the way you do it. How it comes out, that's another round of conversation, but I'm equally proud that he would take that stand and speak truth, and speak truth to power as they think that they have controlled him. They have not controlled him. He's in control. He's in the driver's seat.
Well, you know, it has been the most amazing thing to watch this young man. He is a young man to be president of the United States of America. And there are a lot of people who are proud of him, and they're not all people of color. There are many, many people in this country who think and believe that he is taking us in the right direction. We know there's plenty, you know, room for all kinds of views and opinions on that. The media is having fun with this and will continue until November. So there's a lot of things out there that are still to be said. But he reminds me of being a person who is sturdy. They are, you know, they're steady in what they believe in, as you have said. You don't have to agree, but he's on a certain course, and I don't think that we ever thought that it could happen, first of all. And the things that this president has had to face, and the things that fell into his lap, has made it very difficult for him to move forward, and yet he continues to move forward. So I think that as we see the days go by, and all the things that this country is facing, either one of you want to hazard a guess about how things are shaping up? People have dropped out of the race. Others, Newt Gingrich, I don't know if you want to talk about Beard and Newt. But anyway, all of these kinds of things are happening right around us. And we need to be everyday people who are setting this out, thinking that doesn't mean me, somebody else will take care of it, somebody else is gonna go vote, I don't have to do this, I don't have to do that, but we'll be very much mistaken if we take that attitude. We here at KBBG, our thing is, have you registered, and are you going to vote?
Yeah, this is huge.
That's
I mean,
it's huge. It is really huge.
I think the last time I was on the show, or we were on the show, I used the statement, you can't pick cherries with your back to the tree.
That's right.
And basically, you have to be facing the issues and be able to take part in those issues if you actually want to get some cherries, okay? Yeah. And so registering to vote is so, people are so willing to undermine our community, first of all, and suggest that they tell us why we're not going to vote. See, and if you start listening to the news pundits right now, we are not going to vote in November.
That's what they have decided. That's what they have said.
They've decided that our vote doesn't count. They've decided that the Hispanic vote is the most important, and then the women's vote, and then I'm going like, well, where are we? Yeah. You know, they have written us out of this particular electoral cycle. We have got to register to vote. Now, I'm passionate about that because all year, for the past 2 years, I've watched the voting districts change. You know, I've watched the kind of gerrymandering that's taking place with the districts. Now I'm watching state by state voter laws being changed and people needing particular IDs. Now, of course,
that's scary.
People know we're probably overrepresented in the folks living below poverty, which means we may not have access to all of those things to go get registered in the same way. The government ID in some states. I mean, the plan has been on the wall. It's just like pieces coming together. And now that Barack has said this about gay marriage, the black folks are not going to come out to vote. And we have got to turn that around. So I'm sorry to go off like that, but registering is extremely, extremely important. Because if you want to be a part of the party, if you want that invitation, that registration is your invitation to the party. And I really believe we need to show them that not only is our president strong, but we're strong too as a people. And that we will go out there and do what we need to do. And do not tell us that we're not going to vote. And do not tell us what we believe and where we stand. We know where we stand, and all we have to do is exercise that. So get up off your tush and go out there and get registered. You know, that's what I wanted to say that about registration, because that's the first step in turning November around, is to get registered.
Our guest today, Raymond Hewlin, visiting us from the great state of New York. I'm so glad to have you here, Raymond, and I wanted to know if it's too early, or have you noticed through TV, whatever media you have to be involved in, is there a pattern yet? Are we talking about the election like we're serious enough to go to the polls, whoever we want to vote for? It's not going, we want to be in office. It's not going to happen unless we register and vote. Anything going on that you can put, you know, your hand on? Friends on the street, people on the street. What do you observe in the apple? The Big Apple.
The Big Apple.
I haven't observed that much with respect to the greater New York community, but I do observe this, that from the outset of President Obama's campaign, it was Iowa that took him over the top. And I'm delighted to be in this great state this morning. In addition, one of our great historical figures, Mr. Frederick Douglass, indicated that power concedes nothing without a demand.
That's right.
And we are faced with a challenge, and we have to respond in a very positive way. And if it was not for this president and his great and magnificent wife, Michelle, I'm not sure where America would be with respect to the entire world.
I'm so glad you touched on that, because here is the man who was able to travel the world over, be received with great respect and honor. And that had not happened, as we know, for our country in a long time. It just was not there. You know, you can't run around the whole world bossing people without even so much as by your leave in some cases. And then here comes this man, who I had the good fortune to be in Turkey about 2.5 years ago now. No, that's a long story, but anyway, I was in Turkey with Representative Deborah Berry, was the reason I was able to go. But anyway, he had been there, President Obama had been in Turkey about 2 weeks before we got there. And they talked about him with such love and respect, and the fact that he treated them with such respect. You know, he greeted them in their own language, just being sincere, and just gave them a whole different look, or how they were looking at the United States. And here comes this man. We were able to go to Parliament, and I'll never forget this. They had a red carpet, and nobody walked on that red carpet except the president. But in his case, they made an exception, and they had these huge, I don't know, those doors must have been 20 feet high. I've never seen anything like them. Open up those doors, and the president walks in on this red carpet. And President Obama was able to do that. And they said afterwards, we now call these the Obama doors. Can you believe such a thing? But I mean, it's just that kind of a thing, that he was able to change people's views, and it was mostly because he truly respected. He respects other people and other nations and other countries. And from the beginning, he was saying, we've got to talk. We communicate to educate. That kind of sounds familiar to us, doesn't it?
I think Obama understands humanity.
Exactly.
And with that understanding, he's able to transverse communities based on skin color, based on class, based on gender. He understands that man's sense of humanity is what will actually keep society and the world moving forward. And I think that understanding comes from a very humble background where you learn to respect. You learn to respect what you have, what you do, who you are, and who you can communicate with. So the man can sit down and probably come into Smitty's barbershop in any town, have a good time, and then he can go and sit with any king in any place and not feel intimidated. And that's what we are as a people, if we would just realize that and not allow the false, divisive kinds of efforts of mass society come between us. We have that capacity. We have not revolted and killed white people in this country for what they did to us as a people, because we have a sense of humanity. When you look at South Africa, you have Tutu out there preaching love and a sense of humanity, and then of course you had the great leader who spent all those years in jail. Did he come out and say, okay folks, rise up, let's kill all? We're not that kind of people, it's not that kind of party, and I am so glad that Obama has been able to invite people to his party on his term, in his White House, the way that he wants to do it, even though he's being undermined every step of the way. You know, he just keeps rolling. You know, he keeps rolling the way that he rolls. And so what you two are saying is really, I think, what bothers people the most about Obama, his sense of humanity and his strength in doing it his way, the way that he knows, that will give that respect, you know, to other people. We you know, when you talk about Turkey, I remember traveling there too. We were respected more there than among the Mayan Indians down in Mexico. How about that?
Isn't that something?
right here where they could be influenced by all the negativity that